Hey there, welcome to Studio Visitor, the podcast where we talk about gear philosophy and history in European music studios. For this episode, I traveled to Paris where I met Jean-Charles Versari of Versari Studios in the heart of Paris. He has an incredible story about his gear, his history, and so much more. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Let's not waste any more time. Here we go. Hey there, welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. I'm in Paris. Next to me, Jean-Charles Versari. And we're in an incredible space with a unique vibe. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Like I said before, it's an incredible vibe you got here. You told me a story about this building.
Yes, so my studio is located in the first non-profit studio that opened in France. So it's a non-profit company. They opened in 1986, and it was one of the first practice space in Paris as well. In general, it's been going ever since. At some point, it was shut for a couple of years because the owners wanted to sell.
Yeah,
but
sure.
they didn't. They couldn't. It didn't happen because it turned out that the people who wanted to buy couldn't build what they wanted to build instead of it. So in the end, the nonprofit managed to buy the building, and so now they own the building. And so I'm renting this space, which so as you can see, it's made of wood. It's not a properly thought about recording space. They built it to be a practice room. It was a total mess. But so after that, they decided that they would rent it for something else, and I managed to rent the place. I've been here for 12 years now.
What did you do before this? How did you get started? Because 12 years.
Okay, yeah.
You're quite active in the game for a long time.
I've been in music since the early 90s, but I was only a musician. That's how I would say it. But I've been a musician all that time, and at some point I thought that because music was unfortunately bringing in less and less money, I thought I need to find a way to make some money. And I had been acquiring some gear as I didn't really know much, but I read a few books, and mostly what I did actually was watch the engineers I was working with as a musician do their thing. And I was advised by a guy called Ian Capel a lot to buy this preamp. Oh, this is a good microphone. You should get it. Or look at that. That's really good. And I was at the time I just thought, oh yeah, I'll just get it and I'll see what I do with it. And so I acquired a bit of gear, and then I started doing it. And when I thought I need to make more money, well, I need to try to make a living out of that. I went to sound engineering school, and that was now 14 years ago.
What education did you take?
I went to SAE Institute, which at the time I didn't know much. I looked into all of them, and that one was the closest to home, to be fair. So it was simple, and I
They have a location there in Paris.
they have one in Paris, yeah. I didn't do any. I mean, of course, I got my A grades, and I went to graduation, but that stopped. That's it. I didn't go to university. That wasn't my thing. I was just into music and photography at the time. And so this was the first time I actually went back to school after high school.
How was that for you?
Well, that was really interesting. I was older than all the people that were dealing with the thing, and not the teachers. Teachers were about my age, and it was interesting. And there were some things I knew and some things I didn't know, and it brought some light. But I had a fantastic year, actually. It was full time. So basically, you had school from classes in the morning, and then from the afternoon, you just had studios you could work in. So because I came from music world, I have a lot of friends in music world, so it was easy for me to bring in some artists to record for free, basically. So that was quite good.
And the funny thing is, they make these spaces available for free with an awesome equipment.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. In Paris, they had a Neve VR. Yeah, exactly. And they had in the smaller room, they had what were they called? It was SSL. It was hybrid hybrid. It was
Duality?
and it was before that
AWS
AWS 900, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so that was also the preamps and the EQs were beautiful, and no, it was really nice. And even you had a smaller studio, where you started. I think it was very interesting because you worked with so it was Behringer. It was a clone of the Mackie
MX-8000.
bus. I don't remember how it was called. Yeah.
MX-8000.
Yeah, might
that
be.
was the first clone.
But actually, it was distorting a lot. But the distortion, the THD, brought a real thing to the recordings. And we were recording to a direct-to-disc that was it Mackie as well? I don't know. It was one of the direct-to-discs, so you didn't really have the visualization that you have with Pro Tools now.
Yeah.
But you could still do a little edit. So sometimes we get there and we're just like, but it was all right, and it sounded good. And I recorded very nice demos and stuff like that, and things that maybe might have been used for commercial records after that. But I'm not sure we're allowed to do that, so we'll see. But in any case, it was a great year, and at the time, I think the school was really good, and the teachers were telling us that we were a good pack. That year was a real good year.
Yeah.
And the director of SAE at the time was a really good man. I really liked it. I really spent a beautiful year. I think it was great. And it turned out that he left and is the one who opened the Abbey Road Institute Paris now.
Okay.
So the guy who was the director of SAE at the time is the director of Abbey Road now in Paris.
You still in contact with him? Or?
Yeah, we still talk from time to time. I still haven't had time to go there, to be fair. So I'm really upset with myself. They had open doors this weekend. I wanted to go, but then I was not in Paris. So
okay.
But
let's agree on one thing. Next time I'm in Paris, we go together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm still in touch with him. He came here because I called him. I said, well, and also I do. I teach a little. I organize workshops. I have 3, depending on the years, 2 or 3 workshops for university kids, young adults, from Paris, Sorbonne Nouvelle. And so it's basically when you go to university in France, during the holidays, all of them, you have the opportunity to do some extracurricular stuff. And one of them is music production for a week. And so I have 8 to 10 students who come here. And I go through very basic things about sound. Well, my first day is really about techniques. What's an EQ? What does it do? What's a compressor? What does it do? How is the sound recorded? How is it turned to digital? And all this.
Yeah.
And then second day and third day is recording a band, an artist, so they get to see how you interact with an artist. And then fourth and fifth day is mixing and mastering.
It's a fly course in production.
Yeah, but it's really like super fast. So they go over the basics, but a lot of them find some interest. They're all from either theater studies or it's all art related.
Yeah.
And often they come, and most of them will be musicians as well. So it's interesting for them to understand what a sound card is. All of a sudden they realize that in a sound card there's the preamp and there's the conversion and how does it work and why do we choose 44.1 instead of 96 or whatever. And so you get to explain all this. And because I think I come from from being a musician, I think I managed to find the things that they will find interesting. There are some things I go over it very quickly because it doesn't really matter to them. And so, afterwards they start thinking, oh yeah, I should have done this, I should have done that. Just the bit depth, all of that. It's always interesting.
Yeah. After the SAE, you started collecting some gear, and at some certain point you wound up here.
Yeah. So I thought after the SAE, I thought, okay, what am I going to do with my skin now? And then I thought, I don't want to be a studio assistant. I'm a bit old for that. I know how to do coffee. Thank you very much. To make coffee.
We're not Rick Astley.
No, exactly. So I decided I should start a studio, and I started working with an artist who used to be a sound engineer as well. He used to have a studio. He used to have a Sage console, which was beautiful apparently. I said, well, we're working together. I was producing his album. That was my first thing. I started right before I ended SAE, and then it went on for actually a year and a half. And I said, well, there's this space in the suburbs that was in Saint-Cloud. There used to be a studio called Microbe in Saint-Cloud. That was a really nice place. It was a great studio. They had 3 rooms, beautiful gear. They had an MCI desk, an MCI 24 track recorder. And they had 2 other spaces. One was rented to a band called Mellow. And people were more in the French touch electronic music vibe. So Mellow and then other guys who were part of another band. I can't remember the name. Anyway, doesn't really matter. In any case, they had another room under that was their practice room. So bands could rent it by 4 hours. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm a bit bored with it." So I called him. I said, "Would you be interested in renting me that space?" And so we rented that big room. It was 90 square meters. No control room or recording room separation. So it was just one big room. But we set up there. We cleaned it completely. We redone something, changed some lights, and I bought a D&R desk.
D&R is named after the owner and president, still is president. They still exist. Duco de Rijk. Duco.
Okay.
Rijk.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
And but this was also unfortunately called sometimes Dutch rubbish. But
you mentioned.
You got a Dayner.
I did. And the problem with it, the preamps were really nice. The EQs were quite aggressive, lots of THD, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
The problem I had with it is I couldn't mix with it because there was a massive ground loop problem. But it was insane. I was going crazy. I was cutting cable, trying things. I could never make it work.
It's inside the desk.
Yeah, and so I just at some point I just thought, you know what, scrap this.
Yeah.
The DNR is going, and I bought the Trident I have now.
Yeah.
But that was
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. But the preamp, I have to say, I was not disappointed. I did a lot of beautiful recordings with the DR because when you were recording, you didn't have the ground loop problem with the preamps. Yeah. It's when you were mixing, and I think it came from the insert points. And I tried to do a lot of things because the insert points, they were on the same. I think they were on the same 635 jack, and they were unbalanced. And I'm starting to think it might have been something like that. And also, it meant because of the ground loop, you had to cut it somewhere on your patch. I tried a lot of things, couldn't make it work.
Didn't work.
So I just stopped mixing with it, and I mixed in the box, and I did a lot of records there as well over this 1 year. And that was my first year as a commercial studio. I probably did. I can remember at least. So I did the album by my friend Ethelone. A fantastic album. I'm still very, very proud of it. It's a beautiful production. It was a co-production between him and me. It was savvy as fuck is what I was going to say. Sorry for the cuss word, but
that's okay.
It was really good. He is still really good. He's doing less music now, but he's a fantastic artist. I did an album by a French artist called Red Eye. I didn't mix it because my timeline was not good with his timeline. He wanted it fast, and I didn't have time at the time. So the other artist is called Thomas Henley. He now lives in Berlin, I think, but he's still doing records.
A lot of these guys are living in Berlin.
I mean, Berlin is. I was there recently because I played Metropole as a musician with my partner. But I hadn't been in a long time, and I have another artist I worked with, produced the album here called Adam H, a fantastic artist. Now he does a lot of ambient stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to bring him back to songwriting, but we'll see how it works. Anyway, so I was there with him, and so we just then Toss is over there. A lot of artists go in Berlin. It's a fantastic creative city. So that's what I did there. So and then the building was sold over there. The building was sold, so we were told it was going to be sold. So we had to find somewhere else. And because I've known this place where I am now, this non-profit for a long time. I called the main guy, who still has been the same guy since the 90s, who runs it. And I said, well, would you have a space? And long story short, I came here. I visited the place. It had been a bit of a mess because it wasn't really used. So you had a lot of bottles, and you could see that it was more like a party crib. But we agreed on doing it. I have a residency kind of contract now, and I cleaned up the place. I had my first assistant. Also, I decided to. after that first year in Saint-Cloud, I didn't have an assistant then. But then I thought, maybe I need one also because I'm going to have this move. Maybe it's interesting for them because we're going to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And so I got an assistant from a French school called EMC. That's in the south of Paris, Denis. Very good man, still works, he's still a sound engineer, works in a half public studio now, like city studio, somewhere in the 9th. He comes here to do sessions from time to time. When I can't do something, I usually call him. Are you available? Because he knows the studio, and I have a couple of assistants. The usual. I have a couple of ex-assistants that I can call when I'm not available. But
you also know the studio, so it's easy for them to work here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good for them, and he really enjoys coming here because he's in a public-funded kind of a studio. It's a bit straight, it's a bit strict. You can't do this, you can't do that. It's nice, they have AC everywhere, but it's a bit cold. It doesn't have any vibe at all, actually.
Okay.
And that's what he was saying. He was saying, yeah, coming to work here, it's such difference with the artist. I mean, all of a sudden it creates other things.
Talking about the vibe, do you notice when people come here, they're used to other studios because it's quite a unique vibe here? People are performing different than they used to do in other studios, or?
Well, is it because of the studio? I think the thing that, and we talked about this earlier on, people come here because of me.
Yeah, sure.
I used to be a musician. Well, no, I have to stop saying this. I am a musician, but I work less as a musician now and but more as a music engineer or studio music producer. What makes it different? Yes, there's something with the vibe. They feel like they're at home. And that's what I wanted to do when I took over this place. Because it's made of wood, so I installed a few panels for sound, not soundproofing, but sound corrections for the high-end mostly, the flooders. I still have something in the low mids that's a bit rumbly, but I'm really now used to it, so it doesn't really matter. I know how to work with it. Because there isn't enough room, I think, to put nice bass traps, and also it's a weird, I'd have to find where to put it. So maybe I didn't do it. I thought I can.
The thing is, you as an engineer, as a producer, being one with the room is much more important than anything else.
I absolutely agree with this, and that's exactly what I do. So I'm quite used to it. So, but what was more important to me was to make it welcoming and a place where, and also because it's. For a long time now, I have a slightly bigger apartment than before, but it used to be my second room, really. I was in a one-room apartment for a long time. And when I came here, it was my music room, basically. And I spent as much time here as I spent home, actually, if not more, probably more. And so I made it as welcoming as possible. And I do think that it pushed people to feel like they could settle and take some time to do things. And it's happened on several occasions that people come here to do a demo. Well, they get in touch with me and they say, yeah, we'd like to record a demo. I say, yeah, sure, come over, we'll do demos. And so they come and we start talking, we start working. I don't do demos, I just do things. You do things, and as a musician, you just do things. Demoing is, I mean...
You don't care about what the project is about, being a demo, being an album, or whatever.
You just go to the best.
Just do the project.
You just do the project. You go to the end, to the best of your ability and to the best of the time you're given, because, of course, it's always time sensitive. So a lot of times, from early on, people came here for maybe 3-track demo, and in the end, they stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we do the album, and we mix it, and it's happened. Or because it's a lot of independent artists, they'll record their first 3 tracks, and we'll mix them, but then they'll say, oh, you know what, let's book another session.
Yeah.
And so they go back, they work there, they have their real job, their day job, and then they save some money, and then they come back and we do the 3 more tracks, and then after a certain amount of time you get the album. Or they manage to find some fundings, because we still have a little funding in France for musical projects. So they manage to find some fundings, and they just come here and they stay for 3 weeks, and we record and mix like it used to be done, when music was having a bit more stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, the room, but also the way we talked about this earlier, but the way I think I treat them, and the fact that I'm a musician and I understand where they want to go, even if the music is not my cup of tea, which happens.
No.
But it's all right. It's part of I'm a curious musician. I want to know things. So, for example, my partner. So I play with my fiancée, and she's a violin player. She's a bit famous in the UK because she plays with Proclaimers and Wonder Stuff. And when she came in, when we started working on her the album we released a few years ago now, 3 maybe 2. Her reference, she said, "I feel like I'm the evil twin of Taylor Swift," and so there was some electronic elements in her music that were absolutely not my more like pop electronic.
Yeah.
I like electronic music. I like Throbbing Gristle. I like Depeche Mode, stuff like that. But it's more on the dark side of things. It's always somewhere else. So I had to. You have to switch your brain. It's like you tune in to what the artist wants. You tune in to what the artist wants, and then when you're there, you just get working, and it just happens.
People like you and me are just like the gear. We are a tool to serve the artist.
Exactly. But a tool with brains.
Yeah, sure. Modern version of AI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Well, let's not get there.
No.
I'm gonna get very upset.
Talking about recording, you got a beautiful Trident desk.
Yes.
Why this one?
Why this one? So I had, as I was saying earlier on, my issues with the D&R Dayner. Not that I hate it, but I was happy when I got rid of it. I lost some money because, of course, I didn't buy it for much, but I sold it for less. Anyway, when we were in Saint-Cloud, I got very lucky with meeting a guy who was doing servicing. He had another one of the rooms in the studio was a little it wasn't that little, but it was the workshop of this servicing engineer who is a massive genius. He's called Guy Fouché, and I'm still in touch with him, but he's retired and he still does things, but you have to bring it to him, and he's quite far in the suburbs, and I don't have a car, so it's a bit too complicated.
Probably you need to have time because...
Yeah, well, that's all right. I mean, time, if you're going to have something serviced, there's no way it's going to happen in seconds. So the time is not an issue there, but it's really bringing the thing, especially if it's a bit heavy or a bit big. Yeah. So I became not really close, but we got along well. And he's the one. So I told you about this Girardin desk. It didn't have direct outputs like the Studer didn't have direct outputs at the time. So we built the direct outputs for all channels together, and he conceived the circuit and everything. So it was really good. And so at some point when I had my D&R, and he was saying, "Yeah, no, I don't." He didn't want to have it in his workshop, but he came to listen, and said, it came to look and said, I don't know, is it really worth it? It was more like, is it really worth it? And so I asked him, I went to him, I said, well, you know what, Guy, I would like to buy something else. What would you recommend? And he's the one who recommended a Trident 65. Because he said it's an easy desk to service. You can really mod it to make it better, and it sounds beautiful.
Yeah, designed by Malcom Toft. He's still
he's still doing things. Yeah,
he's still doing things.
Yeah, I haven't listened to his new, what are they called? Well, Toft Audio, Toft Design.
Yeah,
I haven't listened to that. I don't know how they sound, but they.
Yeah, I met him twice, and he's an incredible guy. He's also electrical genius.
Okay, that's beautiful. But yeah, so Guy recommended I buy this, and I asked him, and will you help me mod it and make it better? And so he didn't. So it was kind of a joint operation. He built a new power supply for it because the power supply was not there was a problem. It brought too much THD. It still does, but not that much. It's more interesting. So a more adapted power supply. And I asked him to build that's what he was doing at the time. He was building Mixbuses. So I have a total discrete Mixbus.
Master.
Yeah, it was. I can show it to you later on if you want, but it's right there. So it has ICs, handmade. They're not ICs actually. They're handmade. You know, they're
discrete opamps.
Yeah, discrete opamps and beautiful transformers, Jensen transformers.
Wow.
And so he set it up. He also installed a big copper rail for the grounding.
Yeah.
In the desk, so it's quite clean and not noisy. We did a lot of things. We recapped everything. We changed. We took out some stuff, put some new diodes. Unfortunately, I'm not an electronic engineer, so I don't Some things I understand, and I can fix a few things myself.
Yeah.
But I only can go this far, and beyond that, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
For me, the same.
So if someone tells me do this, I'm a very good soldier. I just do it. We set up 48 volts as well in it because it used to be behind the desk, which is not very convenient. So now we brought it to the top, to the channels, to each channel. So we have a little switch. Yeah, and we did a lot of mods, and I've been working with it ever since. And I still have my Girardin, as I was saying, Struder, and I use it for different things, both preamp for different things. And I have a B range as well. I have 4 channels of B range Trident that I use for different things as well. It's really everything has a flavor, and it just feels right with certain type of recordings. So.
First time I ever saw a B range desk. These are really, really, really rare.
Yeah, I know.
But you told me it needs to be.
I need to open it. So the luck I have with having a space is some people who used to have spaces and they used to have gear who don't have them anymore just lend me things. And so that B range is lent to me by a very good friend of mine who's a sound engineer, great sound engineer as well, Martial de Roffignac. And he just said, just have it. And so I'm having it, yes, but I need to open it and I need to clean a lot of things, I think, because it's quite erratic. Sometimes the 4 channels work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
You get only 1 and 4, sometimes you get 1 and 2. So I need to clean everything and I need to recap it probably.
Yeah. There's a lot of compression and other stuff going on in your rack. I see the vitalizer.
Yeah.
Pick one part of equipment that you can use for about anything that you really like, that you never could live without.
Okay. Well, one. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple things. I try to mod things. So when I knew nothing, I bought this TL Audio Ivory series compression double compressor. Don't really like it. I think I didn't really like it when I bought it. I was just like, meh.
That's what was holding me back for buying one.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it's not fantastic. But I changed the tubes and I put very nice tubes in, and it's not about the compression, it's about the harmonic distortion.
Yeah.
And that's what actually makes it interesting. And I use it more now to distort things rather than compress. I'll compress a little, maybe you compress 1-2 dBs, but then I'll crank the preamp, the input, sorry, and have the tubes do something. And that's really interesting for example, when artists come in with a digital synth, virtual synth, and I feel like they lack grit, they lack content. I'll just play that through it and crank it a bit, and all of a sudden, then you start getting the buzz that you want to get. So that's an interesting one, but not a go-to. So the first one it's an 1176 clone. I think the compression I use the most recently is, and of course people are going to say, oh yeah, that's not a real LA2A. Yeah, no, that's true, it's not. It's the Carl Technic clone of LA2A, but I changed the tubes and I changed the optocell. I put, what is it called? Kinetec optocell in. It sounds wonderful. I don't record vocals without it now. Never. And it's fantastic. It's a great. It's not the same. It's not exactly as LA2A because it doesn't have the gain and the peak reduction.
Okay.
It's fixed gain, peak reduction, and output level. I mean, everything has its flavor and everything has its moments, is what I'd say. Everything. Yeah. I have a few things also. Well, things I always use is the DBX 903. I have a 160X DBX here. I never mix the bass without it, for example.
Yeah, the funny thing about these 900 series, it looks like a 500 rack.
Yeah,
but it's not.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. It's its own power supply and its own thing. You can't put 500. I have 5 compressors, 903 compressors. They're fantastic. I record. If I'm going to compress something while recording drums, I'll use those because I just do same thing, 1-2 dBs. If the drumming, the snare, for example, is a bit erratic and really irregular, well, I'll compress a bit more. But I really it's just for the color. And then mixing wise, I'll do the same again. Just layer and layer stuff, and that's what I'll do. I have 2 distressors that were lent to me, and I still haven't found exactly on what how to work with them. It's still
Mainly for
because
guitars in my
so that makes sense. Mainly for guitars makes sense. I have this Chandler TG1, which is great as well. And right now I'm never recording overheads without it now. I'm usually using this same, compressing very little. Recently I recorded a French artist called Neve. Her album is going to come out, I don't know, maybe in 8 months or something like that. I'm mixing in June and July at the end of the month. I recorded her, she has a keyboard, so I offered that she play with a real piano, but actually she has, it's more like Rhodes sounds, CP70 sounds, so it's more electric piano sound, so it was all right. So she was using her keyboard, and I compressed it, very little, but the color you bring back with this, with the transformers of this, are fantastic.
I see some tube stuff, I see some transformer stuff. What do you prefer? If you ever had to make a choice, transformer or tubes?
That's a hard question.
It's like chop off the left arm or chop off the right
exactly, arm. It's really hard because with the transformer, they all bring a little compression somehow.
Yeah, sure.
They all bring a little THD somehow. Even I have things, for example, we'll go back to the 903 by DBX, the 900 series, the compression. It's just harmonic distortion, but from ICs.
Yeah,
it has no transformer or tubes, but then it's good. It's nice. It's interesting, and that's what matters. I'd say tubes. Maybe it's because I'm a singer and I love a 47 and I love an LA2A.
It's interesting.
And that's because when I first discovered I said 87. Ooh, wrong. I actually don't like the 87. I like a 47. I don't like the 87. I had one. I sold it because I was not very excited about it, mostly. It's thin.
What was the most important aspect you sold it? Why? It's not because you didn't like it, but
no, the 80. Well, so I sold it because I didn't really like it. That's why I sold it. I didn't really like it.
Not a technical thing, or
no, don't care. But it has no transformer or tube in. To answer your question, it was a transformerless.
Yeah.
So I'd say tubes, and maybe it's. I think it's a bit silly, and I think it's only because I was a musician and I play the guitar, and I like tube amps, and I sing, and I like tube microphones, and maybe that's just why I make that choice. I don't think it's subjective.
No.
If you're asking me, like silly me, I'll say this. But if you're asking the sound engineer, I'll say no. I'm keeping both arms in my head as well, please, because I can't do without any of those. See, I love combining. I have 2 very good preamps. I was lucky to buy those before they were in fashion. They're V276, so they're the tubeless version of the 76 by Siemens.
Yeah.
And I can feel the transformer. I can feel the power of those.
I had the real deal.
They're fantastic.
I had the real deal in my studio for quite some time. And like you could lend the desk, I could lend these.
Oh, they're fantastic.
A little bit noisy, but amazing.
They are a bit noisy if you push them hard, but I think they have 80 or 90 dBs gain. So if you go to the end of it, it will get a bit noisy. But I really I love those. So I'll combine this with, for example, my favorite chain for recording vocals is this preamp that I send into the EQ of my Trident 65, and then I'll put the LA2A. That's not an LA2A. Then insert there. And it just sounds beautiful for vocals. It's rich, it's warm, it's wide. Well, it's deep rather than wide. It's fantastic. Yeah. And it's just a combination of everything, actually.
There's one anomaly, oddity, however you want to call it. It's from early 80s. It's a Pioneer space designer thing.
Yeah. I bought it because I think the Beastie Boys used it on some records. Yeah.
They used it a lot.
They used to have that, and so I thought, it was really inexpensive, so I just bought it. I'll see. And you put it in, you throw it in, and all of a sudden the sound goes whoa like this, and you think, okay, that's wide. How is it wide? So I recorded some. I didn't have a phase meter, so I recorded both sides, and I looked at it, and turned out it was. actually what I did is switch to mono, heard that there was a phase problem, just looked it up, and it was totally phaser position. So of course, for hi-fi people, like I was saying, you put some Wagner on, which is, and so all of a sudden it's like, and it's a bit much.
Talking about listening, I see the new Adam A77H monitors.
Yes.
How you like them?
I absolutely love them. So what happened is when I started working, I started with Mackie HR-824, I think.
I hate them.
Yeah. Well, that was my reference. That's what I had.
It's okay. It's okay.
I mean, and again, I tend to buy things because people I value recommend things. So I remember, I had a roommate who was a bit into sound. He said, "Oh yeah, those speakers, they're not that bad." And I found some on eBay US at the time where the dollar was really low and you didn't have to, customs were a bit easier and stuff like that. So I bought a pair from the US. And actually it was, it worked for me.
They're not bad.
It worked for me. Of course, it's all bass reflex. You don't have the real low end. It's a bit boomy. But if you don't work that loud, and I try to not work too loud, then I think and if you place them right, you can make them happen. What was good is that I used them for a bit, and then I tried the A77X by Adam Audio.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yeah, okay, all right, that's something. So I sold my Mackies. I bought those. They were quite soft, and you don't get tired when you work with them, which is what I like a lot about the Adam speakers. But they still were a bit inaccurate in the low mids, which is always the problem with
a lot of
low mid is low mids and low end is something you really have to be careful with. So so I just had them, and I thought I considered changing speakers, but I didn't really have time to do it. And then Adam got in touch with me because you always post things and they tell you about things. And they said, "Well, would you be interested in trying the new model?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll try them." And I did an A/B. I kept both, and I had them on top of one another, and I was doing a switch between the two all the time. And the accuracy of the new one, it was also because they're true three-way speaker, which the A77X was not. So no, it's fantastic. I absolutely love them, and I have people who came here working. For example, Martial, who does a lot of movie mixing. He has a system that's quite expensive. I wouldn't be able to tell you which speakers he has, but it's kind of like higher end. Okay. And he said, "Oh wow, I'm surprised. It is kind of like when I work in my studio. That's interesting." So I think they're really good. And and the other pair of speaker I have, which is my client speakers, but they're hi-fi speakers.
No,
and actually the hi-fi. My brother gave them to me because it's you have a studio. I have these in my garage. Just have them. And they're actually focal speakers, but hi-fi focal speakers. Yeah. At the time, they had a division called JM Lab, and they're fantastic. And they're good because for people when they come in, the client speakers, big speakers, you can crank them up a bit. They have a double motor for the low end.
Yeah.
So when there's a bit of a bit more low end that's coming in, the second motor kicks in, and it does have the richness of the low, and it's quite accurate actually.
Yeah. If you were talking about recording stuff and putting people in the right place, is there any specific thing you always start a session with, besides having a cup of coffee?
Oh yeah, well that's definite. Yeah. You mean mixing wise or recording wise?
Recording wise.
Recording wise, I think the most important thing is the headphones.
Headphones.
I mean, of course, before that, yes. You put your microphones where you should put them. You do all your assignment. You set up your session. That's the basics. Yes, but communication, very important. But headphones, I claim, what's important for me is for the artist to be comfortable with what they're going to record. So headphones is essential, and because of the way how it's done here, I do the headphones myself. I don't have one of those fancy systems where you can make your own headphones with your little mixer, which is great. As an artist, I've had the privilege of being in a studio that had this. It's nice, you just do your own mix. It's cool, but it's just as a sound engineer, I like to and I always, of course, I have the same headphones as the artist. When I do this, I listen at the same time. And but I think it's very important that you have headphones that actually are comfortable for the artist. And that's really the thing I will take some time to because their performance is only going to be good if their perception is good. So and then, you know, yes, the microphones, I have the things I like, I have the things I don't like, I do things, I do this, I do that, depending on the room. So I was explaining that in this building, so I have a small booth here in which I do record drums. It's fine. It's a bit tight, but actually it's dry, but not in a bad way. It has this kind of 70s feel of kind of well, depending on which record, because you've got 70s recordings of drums that are super roomy. But this has this kind of matte, even like French Gainsbourg kind of super close recording of drums, which I really like. And recently I've had a lot of success with that, so I've been doing it a lot.
After recording, what you do is you send everybody away and says, okay, it's my bubble now.
It's up to the artist, really.
I start mixing.
Well, I explain the process. That's what I do. Well, it's usually not on the day, but I usually explain the process. I say, well, so we set up a date. I start mixing. We start mixing. It depends on how they want to be involved. But I explain what I'm going to do, and usually I'll say, well, you know, I'm going to start, and I'm going to clean the files, make sure they're, you know, clean up maybe the mouth noise, do all the thing that needs to be taken care of. You know, do the ends, do the starts, the ends, the fade ins, fade outs, make it clean, and I'm going to start EQing a bit. Well, if need be, but mostly I do.
In the box or out of the box?
Well, that's another discussion altogether, because it depends how much time the artist has and how much money they can, because it's going to take more time mixing in the desk than mixing in the box. And everybody's skinned these days, because music does not, because of thanks to beautiful streaming platforms.
Spotify,
the evil fuckers. Usually I'll do corrective EQing in the box in general.
Yeah.
If I work in the desk, I will still do
coloring
negative. No, the coloring I'll do in the desk.
Sure.
Or unless I have some plugins which I really like, which add this color. But if I'm working in the desk, it's kind of different, because...
But with a collection of equipment like this...
Yeah, exactly.
You color outside the box.
Yeah, you color outside the box. That's more interesting. So, but recently I've mixed a lot in the box, unfortunately, because of time.
Yeah. Talking about drumming recording, do you... who does tune the drums?
Well, that's the one instrument I don't really know much about, so I can't do it. So I don't do it, but I can tell when it's not working. So that's what I'll say.
Oh, that's
because but it's more. But no, I let the drummer do that. The drummers do that, and it's interesting to see with time. Now I can tell when the drummer knows what they're doing and when they don't. but it's no, I don't tune the drumming, and also it's quite personal, the tuning of your drumming. I'm still a musician. I have a band. My drummer, a fantastic drummer, he has his own vision of the tuning, which might not make total sense with the track, but it always sounds perfect in the music. So what is there to say about the tuning? I mean, it is their instrument. They do their thing.
I mean, I had an episode with Lauri Hämäläinen, and he told me, drums need to be perfect tuned, but the other elements, a guitar is never in tune, a bass guitar is never in tune. So that's the reason why everything is blending all perfect together.
Well, yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it has to be in tune to a certain point. So still,
yeah, sure.
I have sometimes I did get to work with guitar players who didn't really know how to tune their guitar, because they keep hitting the string, and they're doing it, changing it as they hit the string. It doesn't work. So sometimes I had to jump in and explain, no, wait, let the string settle, and now you can tune it. Go slow, go from below. You have to help. People come here to be helped. You go all the way in, and you do it as kindly as possible, because you don't want to be rude.
After recording and wrapping up a project, what's the most magical thing that happens to you?
Oh, I love mixing. I just love mixing. So I love finding the how to make a track breathe, how to make it live, how to push things. I love to exemplify little things that seem important for the track. I love to, maybe sometimes I just love to, you hear this line and it doesn't work, and then you just play it through, there was a project where I reamped everything. Everything. I reamped everything outside of the voice. And it didn't work for everything, but for, when I was doing it, I was thinking, and the artist was there, so she was cool with it.
Mixing in the box, you mentioned. We use plugins in the box.
Yeah, but I use my machines as well.
It's always hybrid?
It's always hybrid. I don't do totally digital. I'll use. I have beautiful compressors that have specific things. I have this distortion machine, the Culture Vulture.
I love that one.
Yeah,
it's still on my list.
Digital distortion still doesn't work fantastically, does it? It's too clean. It's too perfect. Sometimes it works better than actual distortion, but now they have plugins that are really good. I do like the Soundtoys little radiator. I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
I use it.
Radiator, decapitator,
Yeah.
I use them.
Actually, they are interesting for some things. What I like about them as well is I like to distort the drums. I like distortion. So I like to distort the drums, but depending on the track. But I will, for example, have, even in this little booth, I'll record a room, even if it's just a room, because you can always bring some space if you compress it.
Sure.
It makes the cymbal pump a bit, and all of a sudden it creates a space around the drum, so it's really cool. And so I'll put a massive distortion in, but I'll put it for the recording, because then the drummer will not play the same way. I won't crank it in the headphones, of course, but it brings some harmonics. That's why I was talking about this, because of the plugin and the distortion plugins. But yes, distortion otherwise is not fantastic.
No,
it's not exactly the same.
It's like I always said, plugins and hardware, it's all fine.
Yeah,
They're all
exactly.
tools. They all serve a
Absolutely.
certain purpose, and it's all fine. If you would like to work in the box, I'm a hybrid guy.
Yeah, I do hybrid, but you're totally right. It's just like having all these machines which have different flavor from which I can't choose from. Same with plugins. I like the plugins. Plugins are a different flavor. It's a new flavor almost. You had all these analog stuff, but now you have a new flavor, which is analog stuff, plugins pretending to be analog stuff, and it brings something else. And it's just a combination of all this that, just brings the glue and makes it work.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we capture emotion,
Yeah.
and we glue it all together.
That is exactly that. And
doesn't matter how you do it,
Yeah.
As long as you do it.
As long as you do it. And I do like hybrid, because I think it brings something.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You got plans for the future, or just continuing?
I'm kind of trying to rethink the whole thing about the studio. I'm also, my music life is kind of coming back up now, because I'm working on a new album for my band. We're working on new material with my partner. We just came back from a tour with her, so things are kind of moving. Everything is shifting all the time, so it's nice as well. You never a dull day. But what I'm most excited about in the studio in the forthcoming future is not having that much work this summer, because summer is always a bit dead, and being able to have time to fix things. So yes, I'm going to take care of the B range. I have a few machines that don't work anymore. It's annoying. I need to get in. I need to open the Infernal machine and figure out what the problem is with the power supply, because it keeps the fuse keeps blowing, and so I don't understand it. Didn't used to do it, but there's probably
regulators.
Regulator or something that. So I'll just look at this. So I'm looking forward to this. But I have this album by Neve, which is a new artist, that I'm quite excited about, because having gone through the studio, it now has an 80s flavor that it doesn't necessarily have before, because the producer and I have the same musical culture.
From the future to the past.
Yeah.
In all this time you're active in the game, what's the most memorable thing, a story, or moment you ever captured for yourself?
Okay. Yeah, I worked. Well, I think it's a bit unfair. Well, it's hard, because it's all about choosing. Which arm do you cut? Transformers, tubes, and everything. I want to start by saying there was never a dull moment in the studio either. I even work with artists who don't necessarily care so much about their takes, and after 3 takes they'll just say, you know what, do your Melodyne stuff and I'll get back. That's interesting as well. I don't get bored. It's all right, it's part of the job. But real memorable moments, more than pointing one, I'd say when the magic happens, that's one of the, it's interesting, because before that I was talking about my work. When I'm mixing, even though I can be mixing with a producer, with artists and everything, it's still, you're the one with the hands in. You're the one doing the things. When you're recording as a music producer, as a recorder, and also because I'm a musician, I have so much empathy towards the people who come here, not just the people, the empathy towards the artistic project, that it matters so much that it's good. When I can feel that it's working and I am part of this, then there's something that's very rewarding there. And that's something I've been saying. And I think I have myself written less music because I found satisfaction in being there for other artists to make their own music. So that's been quite memorable overall. Now I've had very nice experiences with I worked with a lot of great artists. I don't know. Warren Ellis, I recorded a few things with him, but he often comes in with things that he already has recorded at home or somewhere else. But there were moments where he just goes in the booth and starts playing, and it's just there, and it's quite magical.
Yeah.
But he's a name, that's why I mentioned his name. But it happens with a lot of artists. It's not, it happens with all of them at some point. Like I was saying, I've been lucky to sometimes, again, not my music, but something happens when it's happening that's quite special.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. You had a great story. If there's anything left for you to say to the viewers, you want to say to me, or the camera is yours.
Wow.
A message or whatever.
Yeah, I remember I was interviewed by Mike, bass player from the Walkman, Mike Watt. Thank you. My brain, a bit old. Mike Watt. And he asked the same question at the end, but I was interviewed as an artist. But actually, I would answer the same thing. No one should do anything for anybody else. Everybody needs to be done for themselves. And that's the one thing I would like to say.
That's a great conclusion for this episode. I want to thank you for your time,
Thank you for coming here. Yeah. Thank you for being here. That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in Paris.
Oh, yeah?
We wrap this thing up, Jean-Charles and me. We say goodbye. We'll see you in the next... At least I see you in the next episode. Until then, we meet again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh.